nice to meet you all, and thanks for turning up. So I'm going to talk to you about personal projects, and scaling is sort of one of the aspects I'm going to be touching on. And the agenda what we're going to cover is a little bit about me, understanding inspiration. Oh, by the way, this talk's not going to be about hard coding or any of that stuff. It's really on really high level, on just building on yourself as opposed to your code base. Understanding inspiration, understanding the development process, insights into Acumen logs, project of mine is now a business, and some lessons that I've learned. So let's move on. Oh yeah, so that's me. That's my dog Willow, who's always underneath my desk whilst I'm coding and doing stuff. A bit about my background: I've been a full stack developer for 15 years. I currently work at this company called PT Distinction. We sell personal training software. Got a few of my colleagues here, and Acumen Logs is my side hustle that I'm working on. All started off from a really basic personal project to now it's sort of functioning-ish business. And yeah, inspiration, the first thing. This is kind of what it looks like to me every now and again. Kind of don't understand it, how it comes about, but it's really, really interesting. It's kind of blinding. This is what kind of goes on in my head. And how I distill it is sort of this. This talk was, I was thinking about how I kicked Acumen Logs off and how it grew, and I think inspiration was one of the pinnacle things in order for it to get to where it is. Quick show of hands, how many of you guys have started over 100 personal projects in the last 10 years? It's a bit of a surprise question. My GitHub is full of fucking personal projects. And I think one of the main things about my projects that I've had on my GitHub is they've all really been ideas and concepts, and they've never really been thought about too much more than the idea and just getting started. And then I thought about inspiration a little bit more, I thought about Acumen, and what I realized is, like, after Googled what inspiration, the definition of inspiration is it is the process of being mentally stimulated or to feel something, especially to do something creative. And the important part of an idea versus inspiration is an idea, you know, we all have ideas, we have about 1 billion a day, but inspiration is something that we actually come by quite rarely, you know. I think you're rarely inspired by something, or if something does inspire you, it's like, you just kind of forget about it. And I think that's just a feeling, it's not really inspiration. I think if you're truly inspired, it kind of should compel you to do something about it. So, I've broken it down to 3 things. Get inspired, what is it? I think one of the things that it is like understanding the problem. Discovering what it is that really triggered that inspiration. So what about that idea was important to you enough for you to sort of think about it a little bit more. So understanding the problem, understanding what the common patterns are that led you to that idea, and how you can grow from, you know, how you can sort of distill that a little bit more. So pattern recognition in inspiration is kind of important. Once you've kind of got your grasp around the problem and the patterns, things like that, so what you're doing, you're coding, you might have noticed, oh yeah, you know, I'm sort of doing this a little bit more. Like, here's an idea, dig into that. The digging in is research. Talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, might need to talk to your friend, your families, ChatGPT, you know, and you build up information based on your idea and the problem, and all of a sudden, you're filling up the inspiration, you know, that level is being fulfilled. And then finally, there's no point of having inspiration really, I think, and, you know, because you need to do something about it until you understand what will you get, you know. And this is where motivation kicks in, where you need to, you know, you don't want to do something for the sake of doing it. Ideally, you want to understand what you're going to get from it. So that might be new skills, deeper understanding of the technology, job that you were hoping to get, or finishing a project. So that is the pinnacle. The last part is kind of the cornerstone for, you know, doing something about it. If you don't have that purpose, you don't have that, what will I get? You know, what am I going to achieve from this? It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty difficult. More often than not with the projects that I've started, when I've not had the what will I get, it's more often like, oh, I've started this, start new project, you know, Laravel, create new project. I forgot the name like a week later. You know, restart the entire process all over again. So yeah, inspiration I think is one of the most important things to take the idea, understand the process of having an idea, and scaling it up, essentially, you know, like taking it to the next level of getting a good understanding from it. So, development process. By the way, I thought this this talk was 15, 20 minutes, so I'm trying to like scale this down, but I've recently found out it's not that. So I'm going to take a little bit longer, but not that much longer. So I usually start off with compose a create project Laravel, give it a shitty project name. So with Acumen logs, Acumen didn't start off with the word Acumen logs. It started off with Loghound. Loghound was based on, I looked at Willow, she likes sniffing around things. I like logs, I like digging into logs and finding stuff out. So I was like, logs, Loghound, yeah, okay, Loghound. And you know, the thing is, I got stuck on that maybe for a little bit longer than what I should have. But most people get stuck on this part and kind of never move on. Like, they, oh yeah, I need to have a great name before I start a project or whatever. And you kind of just totally forget that you can just change the name later. You could give it a project name that you could just about remember, and you could come back to it. You know, you can CD into that and remember. So, super basic. Give it a meaningful project name that you can remember a week later, and then change the name later on as you get a good understanding of what your project actually is. 2, identify key features and functionality. Obviously, this is an obvious one. But what I generally find is when people start personal projects, they don't create a board, or they don't want to do this thing. And I've got a really, really simple board here on Trello with a nice-ish background. Something that, you know, kind of inspires you a little bit to come back to, a nice place to look at, because you're going to be spending a lot of time here. You need to get organized, and most of the time, you don't have a lot of time to do personal projects. It's usually a side hustle. It's like, oh, I've got like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here. So Acumen logs, my project board kind of looks like this. To do brochure marketing, that kind of board that link got added on a little bit later. Something that's in progress, complete, and a backlog. And then I've got some basic colors around there to say what's heavy work. I haven't gone and added in Fibonacci point sequences or anything like that. You know, it's pretty basic. What's heavy work? What's medium work? What's light work? And what are quick wins? And that allows me to distill really quickly once I've got my identifying my features and functionality, and now it's bugs and other things. If I've got 30 minutes, I can open up this board and quickly look, oh, do you know what? I can quickly bang this feature out in 30 minutes. I've got 15 minutes, I can add this delete functionality that I should have added like 6 months ago. You know, I mean, I find stuff like that every now and again, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe this, no one's complained about this. Yeah, I picked Trello because it's available on all devices. It feeds back into the state of inspiration. You know, as you're sort of thinking about things, pondering on things, you want to note those ideas down quickly. You can get it on your phone, you can get it on other places. So pick something that's easy to access, like, oh yeah, the other reason why I picked it and why it's good for projects is because you can share it with people. You know, it's not something that is, it's free for now. Yeah. I've started another side project for that. And then this is an important step, pondering on the challenges. With all of the 100 projects that I've started plus, I never really spent enough time pondering on challenges. I kind of got stuck in because I thought, I'll quickly bang this out. I can do this in a weekend. I don't need to think about it much more than that. And by the time I hit Sunday, I kind of lost sight and lost hope a little bit in why I'm doing it. And it restricted me from adopting a growth mindset, which we'll touch on a little bit further. But if you guys don't know about growth mindset, it's a really basic terminology or concept on where you can have a fixed mindset or growth mindset. Fixed mindset is where you kind of look at this one thing and be like, this will only ever be a can, and that's about it. But actually, what you can do with this in the growth is you can actually, this is kind of coming example that's kind of just I'm just thinking about. You could cut this in half. And I don't know, do you get what I mean? You can refactor that. It gives you some time to ponder on the challenge. So once you've got your work lined up, your heavy work, your medium work, you could do some of your quick wins, but your heavy work is going to require a bit more time. Even when you actually need to do them, you might get stuck on just thinking about the details. So getting ahead of the game in terms of pondering on the challenges gives you that space to really think about, okay, how am I going to lay this out? What kind of technologies do I need? What functionalities do I think about? You know, all of that kind of stuff. And if you need any help and blah, blah, blah. So this is super important. You can't kind of skip out on this. Step 4, code, fail fast, fail early. Don't waste time trying to make, and you know, give it, like, don't let perfection be the enemy of your outcome, right? So you want to try and get functionality working really quickly, make the two ends meet, and then lastly, refactor. Build a cow, and then, you know, you probably realize, oh, actually, this guy needs some legs, it's moving, it looks like a cow. Our product looks like, sort of like a product, but, you know inside of you that it's based on fail fast, fail early, which is, it's a good concept to start with. It's not really a great concept if you want to keep something scalable. So, but it's really, really important. You can't not do this, I think. I find a lot of developers who don't do this never actually get anywhere. And with a lot of my personal projects where I've built like some really heavyweight stuff, and I've been working on a heavy ticket, and that's it. Like, boom, I've never seen that project ever again. I look back at it in my GitHub, I'm like, fuck, I've done like 800 commits on this. Why did I give up on this? You know, yeah, so you're never done. You always have to refactor. And this feeds into the growth mindset, because it's probably one of the reasons why you got into it in the first place. So you can't just skip out on this step. And then you can iterate, review features, ponder on the challenges, code, refactor. And that's the way you're going to scale your project. And a little bit of an introduction to Acumen Logs. So Acumen Logs is a web monitoring product. It does synthetic monitoring, uptime monitoring, heartbeat monitoring, SSL, and currently it's being used by maybe about 3 or 4 people, but it's pumping out a few number of tests. So this month we're going to hit 48,000 uptime tests, 100 and I think 40,000 synthetic tests running per month, and I think 40,000 SSL tests per month. So it's going really, really well. You know, the few people that I've got on there are like heavy users now. Yeah, all started off looking like this. And, you know, I'm not a designer. And, you know, I never claimed to be, I'm never going to be one. But I started off with, you know, I'm going to have a dashboard. I'm going to have a nav. You see my shitty little logo there, upgrade button. I think this must have been maybe 7 months into the project, 6 months into the project, something like that. And I don't know what, I didn't really know what to call synthetic monitoring, so I called it watches, because I felt like it watched your website, but really, you know, it's synthetic monitoring. Synthetic monitoring, who here has used Laravel Dusk? Yeah? How many of you guys have used Laravel Dusk? Interesting. Okay, so Laravel Dusk is open source product built by Laravel, and it's used to do testing on your sort of your front end application. So you can say, oh, go and click this, type this in, press this button, and it spins up. You could run it in 2 modes. So you could run it in headless mode, so it'll spin up a Chrome browser, and you can see it all happen right before your eyes. It's really cool to watch. Or it does it in headless mode, where there is no browser. It just does it in, you know, in the terminal. And so the concept of the idea was based on that, but the engine that this is running on is on Puppeteer, which I'll dive into a little bit later. So this is what the design looked like initially, and then it looked like this. So this is what it looks like when you dive into the details for one of the tests. I decided, oh, I'm going to move the navigation to the left and have a dark theme color approach. And obviously you could see, you know, my dark theme there's all my grid colors look a bit, yeah, look fucked. But then it ended up looking like this. And one of the things that I realized is, you know, throughout this process was you have to understand what your challenges are, what your strengths are, and what your weaknesses are. And for about probably around 80 of the projects that I've started in my GitHub, I probably gave up on this stage because I thought no one's ever going to want to buy this thing, and no one ever is going to want to buy this. No one's ever going to use this, right? Like if you look at it, and I was like, fuck, I need to get a designer. I need to do design better, blah blah blah. And that's it. Boom, never move forward, project over, dead in the water. I went on Fiverr and paid someone $40. Like 3 days later, right, they gave me a design that sort of looked like this, but it's kind of like I've now taken a lot more inspiration. So this is one of the test results page from something here. Oh, Laravel. Yeah, so this is what it kind of looks like now. And yeah, it's been a really good project. I've learned a lot. You can see it's grown a lot. I like building features, so the left nav is just full of features. Yeah, what this project does is it uses Puppeteer, at least for the synthetic part, goes and visits your website. You can give it a user journey. For instance, one of our customers is doing a journey on a whole cart checkout process where it goes in, adds a product to the cart, adds credit card details, verifies emails that got sent, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of really cool. Uptime monitoring was used, very basic. Ping's very basic. Heartbeat monitoring is the upside down version, the way I see it from uptime monitoring. You have to tell us that you're okay. SSL, obviously super basic. Then there's like lots of scopes to add more to the product, which I'll touch on a little bit more later. So the technologies, do you guys want to know about this? The technologies that I used initially to start off with was Laravel, Forge for server management, because I didn't want to spend time seeding into a server and messing around there too much. Redis for sessions and queues. Node for the engine, running the synthetic test with Puppeteer. Inertia.js and React for the front end. I love Vue, but I decided if I'm gonna grow, I need to grow. So React came in there. MySQL for storing test data and whatnot. So really, really basic stuff. With this, simultaneously, or in DigitalOcean where the server lives, I could probably run like 5 tests at once, and before the server crashed, because Chrome uses a lot of memory. So there were like massive limitations with this. Then moved to this, where I decided, okay, the Puppeteer project running in Node and all of the uptimes couldn't run on a single server. So I decided that I'm going to split that out into a separate repository. This is where the project really started to scale in terms of like the code-based repositories and organization. Put it in a separate repository, use GitHub Actions to build it, and then put it in a Lambda function. And the containers were then stored in AWS ECR, Elastic Container Registry. And that was then deployed to the Lambda functions, and then also used in Amazon Fargate, which is like a container orchestration system. It's basically the most basic version of Kubernetes that you're going to get. It's super simple to set up, doesn't really cost much. You don't really need to know about all the fancy terminology, and I think that's really important. You can get bogged down with Kubernetes and auto-scaling and all of that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that that you can leverage that you don't need a lot of that understanding. So a couple of strategies. So I needed 2 strategies to run the test, one with Lambda, one with Fargate, and both of those are cost-saving strategies, and I'll show you that in a minute. Added in CloudFront for DNS management, Amazon SES for email notifications, but also for another like creative flair, like an inspiration that I had was, we did a project that you say once, Chris. I don't know if you were around when I remember the barrier that we had in the new buildings where they wanted to know everyone that came in to the office. So they wanted me to build a system that reported who was in the office and how long they were in the office for and all that stuff. And unfortunately, the only way that it would work was it would need to send an email every time the gates were open and closed. So I needed to think of a way to send an email to some service that's going to interpret that email and then tell people who's in and out of the office. In a similar way, Acumen Logs in the synthetic product, if you had single sign-on, for instance, and not single sign-on, like kind of a magic link type thing, where you send an email to, where you put in your email address, it sends an email to your email with a code for you to then log into. So that was a big part the journey. And one of the things we needed to do for customers like that was to, you know, they still needed to test, they still needed to log in. So I was able to use SES to get our customers during their login process to send an email to the special email address, which we then interpret, take the special code from that email, pass it back down to the test, and then it carries on as normal. You know, so that they get like a full end-to-end integration. Not many other people in the business do that. And then AWS Batch that runs the jobs, EC2s that it uses, that the batch uses, S3 for image and video storage, SQS, the queues moved from Redis to SQS, and SNS for communication back and forth from the test to the web server. Where it's moving towards is I'm going to drop DigitalOcean soon, adopt probably, hopefully, Laravel Vapor, and then it'll all be in Amazon, all serverless. The queues will all be serverless, so it should scale infinitely. I've read some really, really good stuff about it, so actually really good, really worth taking a look at. Bringing in Terraform, at the moment, everything that Acumen Logs runs on is deployed in 3 different AWS regions and all deployed using GitHub Actions. But I need to take that down a notch and move it onto Terraform, deploy it into many, many more regions, and, you know, grow the customer base a little bit further. And introduce ClickHouse. It's like SQL. It's a database tool specifically built for logging data. So in MySQL, you get data that's stored vertically. This ClickHouse stores your data horizontally, so it's a lot easier to search and things like that. Apparently super fast. So that's basically where the technology is scaling up to. Probably wondering what all of this costs. Like, this sounds crazy. I think it sounds crazy. Initially, when I didn't know how to use Amazon, you see to the far left, it kind of looked like that. Like, my costs were pretty high. You know, for what I was running was super basic. You know, it shouldn't cost me that much money, but it was costing me a lot of money. So I had to spend a lot of time getting to understand how Amazon actually works, how you should use it, how you should isolate the technologies, and how you should call upon the technologies. And eventually, you know, it reduced down to that. You know, those are some of my raw costs at the moment. And, you know, now it's a lot more consistent, and kind of this is kind of the, I think, hopefully the ideal thing that I'm going to be looking for moving forward. So yeah, all of this technology doesn't cost a lot of money if you spend the time to understand how to use the technology. If you don't, it kind of ends up looking like that, and it looked way worse than that, like earlier on. Oh yeah, so lessons learned. One of the things I really wanted to do was I spammed Reddit, and I couldn't get anyone using the app for ages. It was really, really difficult, and I guess that's a good thing, you know. You know, if people don't like it, they don't like your project, why should they use it? So one of the things my boss currently told me, like, he tells me all the time, is like, he's like, if it wasn't good, just make it better. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, just, he was like, if people wasn't buying it, I just did this and made it better. And I was like, you know, like, is there anything else you could tell me? Like, is there like a magic pill? But he was really supportive. And he was like, just made it better. He's like, go get feedback. So I spammed literally every single subreddit, like Laravel, Node, like every single subreddit you could think of, I spammed. But what I was able to get from that was like, some people saying like, why the hell are you doing this? Like, don't be so retarded, you know, there's other businesses that are doing this 100 times better, but you get some people that be like, good, cool project, you know, good luck. And some people would leave you some feedback. But basically, if you were consistent enough with that, what I ended up doing was getting a couple of really good customers from it, who actually were really invested in the product for some reason. And, you know, I don't get it, you know? They're, you know, one of them, I'm really chuffed about one of the customers. They've really helped scale up the product. I've been able to make commitments to them, and it's been motivational, it's been difficult, but it's been good. So the most important thing is, you know, getting feedback. Some of the lessons that I learned on top of this was, if you don't know something, ask quickly, go find the help on Fiverr or whatever it may be, and I still forget it to this day. I was having a chat with my friend Estera there the other day on this problem that I was having, and she was like, "Oh yeah, actually, why don't you look at Fiverr about this?" And I was like, "Why am I trying to fight this battle all myself?" You know, and it's, you know, once you get to a certain point, it doesn't have to be all you. Yeah, and the most important thing I think is consistency is key. You don't have all the time in the world. Break your tickets down. Make it fun to get back to. Little progress is better than no progress. It's the most basic advice, but it is the only thing that kind of works, I think. And it gives you a chance to practice perseverance, which is never a bad thing. And oh yeah, thank you. Do you have any questions somehow?
Do you have to take questions?
Or
Do you have to take questions?
I'm happy to take questions, yeah, if you guys want. If you've got time for it. I've been at 27 minutes. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
It's not really a question, it's more like, wouldn't it be scary to put your project out there in order to scale it? Like,
I'm super scared. I'm actually fucking terrified. Like, yeah, like we're scaling up with one of our customers at the moment, and I did the whole sales thing. You know, I was like, because you can't really get it out there if you're not salesy to an extent. I'm not naturally like that, so I kind of, you know, did like oversold a few things, and not oversold like lied about the product, but like upsold. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. But it's really, really scary because today he sent me an email saying we switched off monitoring on one of their companies called Rapid Spike. Really, really big company in the UK. And we're turning on shit tons of tests today and tomorrow. Yeah, super scary, but you can't dwell in that. You know, there's no time to dwell in that because everyone else, you know, someone else is going to take that. And you know, yeah, that's not something that should stop you. It is super scary, yeah. Go on, Alex.
Not all projects end up being gems. How do you decide when to keep investing and how to move on to something else better?
I always think that with Acumen Logs. Whenever I get frustrated with things and, you know, like things aren't going my way, like, why am I doing this? But I think the inspiration part is super important. Because if you don't understand that and why you started off in the first place and what you'll get out of it, you kind of lose focus on it. Like that will help you, that will pretty much stop you, to be honest. But if you are in that iterative process of, in that growth mindset of like understanding the problem, doing the research, like, you know, understanding your competitors and understanding, you know, things like little things like that, it kind of keeps you going. But I think it's one of those things where with Acumen Logs, it got to a point where, wow, it's too late for me to turn back now. You know, like, what am I going to do next, kind of thing. Yeah, so it is, once you've explored your project enough, you kind of need to make the decision of, this is it. Like, I'm going to push this as far as I can. And then you just do whatever you can to push as far as you can. You need to spend the money on it, spend the money on it. You need to get other people working on it, get other people working on it. It's, you know, you just never stop after that.
How much time do you spend each week on it, roughly?
I think it kind of depends. Every week I'll probably spend around, if I'm lucky, I get like 12, 13 hours. If I'm not, if I'm lucky, sorry, if I'm lucky and I've got like a week, I might be able to spend. There's been times where I've been like up like super ridiculously early in the morning, but like I could spend like maybe 30 hours on it a week. But if I'm not lucky, I get like 10 hours. And yeah, it's not a lot of time. That's why you need the Trello board to show you, you know, what are the quick wins, what's heavy work, what's light work. I've spent 2 years building this project, by the way. So you need to have that insight very, very quickly to like decide, oh, okay, this is going to be what I'm working on. Yeah. Chris.
This is going to sound negative, but I don't mean it. Do you ever get the fear of failure? So sometimes the reason why I don't continue with my projects is because I look at them and go, oh, someone's already, like, this has already got loads of competition in the marketplace, or I don't know if this is a good idea, or whatever. So how do you get over that instinct? Or maybe you just don't have that.
No, that's not true at all. So one of my competitors called BetterStack. Take a look at their website; it's fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. They are the people who, like, you know, like I look up to, really. Like, they've done such a good job. They started in 2021, and by 2023 they're like £20 million company now. Like, they've done ridiculously well. And like, I look at companies like that and I think, damn, like, how am I ever gonna, like, this is ridiculous, you know, what am I gonna do? And the fear of failure, like, literally set in today, to be fair, when, like, so this company that I'm working with, one of them, I'll tell you their name, it's called Prism RVS, a small company, but they're owned by a much larger company. You might have heard of them, called L3 Harris, or Harris L3. Really, really big company in the States. And the fear of letting these lot down is pretty scary, to be honest, because, you know, they've switched off their monitoring, and like, as I was driving in today, I was thinking about it. I was like, what did I get myself into? But I'm just gonna have to carry on. You know, I've got this far. Like, now I just need to stay calm and navigate that, like, you know, with my team, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one of my fears is that I would only ever have like one customer. Like, you go to a certain point so that you've proven it, but like you can't grow it.
Yeah.
So then what do you do if you've got?
And then I think you need to reach out to people who actually have done it before, like, you know, people who've run successful businesses, which is what I'm doing now. Like, I've never run a successful business. I don't know what it takes to scale it. I'm talking to people right now that have got that information, that know about this, and can help me make decisive decisions quickly and help me understand the process of having a business. So, you know, one of the things that, like, I'm going through right now is the process of understanding how to write a business plan and what that means towards growing a business. And so much of it is, you know, it's what I've come to realize. It's just getting to know the market, getting to know the areas of attack that you can find to kind of slip in. And it's really what BetterStack does. In the monitoring space, for about 20 years, nothing really changed. Like, it was pretty stagnant. You had companies like Uptime Robot, Pingdom. These are like massive companies that's been around the block for ages, but the technology hasn't grown and like things haven't evolved very much. BetterStack came in like 3 years ago, found a gap in the market where they realized, like, we can get a whole bunch of these developers and all of these people using it if we just did this. And they did it so well, and they took literally the entire market by storm. I was like, I think maybe a couple of years too late. But now, you know, I can't dwell on that thought. Like, I've got to now get the help and figure out. So I signed up to this company that does, it gives you advice and things like that. So I'm really trying to seek for the right people, have the right conversations, and, you know, try and make decisions that are like way beyond my capabilities, because that's what all the other people did. So if they did that, then I've got to do it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like, literally just take those steps.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, yeah, not doing everything yourself is a really good point.
And that's the most important part.
I've definitely got hung up on saying, well, maybe I can learn graphic design.
Like, seriously, don't do that. Know you're a good developer. Just be a good developer. When you need to do the business and do the selling, someone might tell you, okay, now you need to do the business and selling. Until then, just be a good developer and get the other people to sort out all the other stuff. Just pay for it. You know, if you've got the money. If you don't, then ask your friends and family. Just make it happen. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, you said, I think it started with 3 things, and one of them was know what you want to get out of it. And what is it you want to, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've always wanted to own my own business, and like I said, I've started like 100 personal projects, and I am looking to kind of, like, with personal projects, you're always looking to, you know, gain like skills and stuff like that from it. But like, the idea of never finishing something has always bothered me, and all people used to always comment on it. And now I've got the project to this point, and I'm like, okay, now I can get customers. I'm not done with it, so I need to keep working on that thing, you know. And yes, so hopefully own my own business, and then probably go do some other things if it became successful, you know. there's loads of stuff that I want to do in my personal life that I don't get the time to do. And I think this might be a gateway into that. Also, I just like coding. So, and this is kind of an interesting project to code on. So I get that from it. Like, yeah. And I want to quit the 9-to-5 grind. I'm done with it, honestly. I'm so fucking done with it. Like, that's, if I could do anything, like, I'd do that. Like, brutally honest, like, fuck it. Yeah, I'm so motivated to quit 9-to-5.
So simple. So you can
But yeah, any other questions, guys?
How much did Willow help you?
Willow helped me loads. Willow helped me stay relaxed and stay. She taught me a lot of patience. Patience. Just relax, have some patience, and you can do it.
So we get a dog.
Get a clothing dog. You'll have to take the dog out for a walk and calm down. And your challenges. Yeah.
Do you set yourself sort of overall targets, like I want to be here in 3 months or 6 months or a month with product, or is that just not a helpful thing to do when it's a side project?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think at the start, nowadays, yeah, I'm not sure, you know, like, it's kind of ad hoc, I think. It depends on what the situation is and, like, what the overall goal is. If the goal is like, okay, like, we need to try and win this sale, we're going to do whatever it takes to win this sale, and have the conversations that we need to have. Yeah, there's like hard goals to set, like, okay, I'm going to like get this done by this time, and that's going to be booking a meeting with that person, you know, and sort of like shoot myself in the foot and then fix it from there. Yeah, so yeah, with that kind of stuff, yes, there is an element of that. And then with other things like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get this feature done out the way. I might, you know, say to someone like, oh, I'm working on this. Do you want to see it next week? And demo it next week, something along those lines. But no, not really, to be honest, because I think it sets yourself up for failure. I think, yeah, to an extent, it sets yourself. There's a time and place where I do adopt that, but not all the time. Just depends on the situation. Yeah.
Cool, guys. That was really inspiring. Thank you very much.